and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on our YouTube channel, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and on all sorts of good stuff. I'm joined in here today by Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Back there is Ray Ora. And oh my right beside him and back to the left is our version of Ghostface. In front of him is the soon-to-be deceased running the show today, Jonathan Voico. And Aaron Cummings with little Joey Bishop is here. And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here, making the show part of your day. Here's how today's show is going to go. In the first part of the show, we're going to talk about some predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take our channel members' live questions. If you are one of our beloved channel members, first of all, thank you for being a channel member. Right near the end, actually, Jonathan's going to be opening up pretty soon. In the community tab, there's going to be posts just that you guys, our channel members, can see. And you guys can leave comments in that post, and we will take those and address those in the second half of the show. Also want to let you guys know a little bit later today at 3 p.m. Los Angeles time, there is a new installment of Open Mic. We hope that you guys will come back and join us for that. All right, we got a lot of stuff going on here today, so let's not waste any time and jump right into it. We'll start with an off the top, and that is this. You know, there are some concepts for shows or movies that sound utterly stupid and they work out great. Lego Movie, for example. I had no belief in that whatsoever. And it ended up being my favorite animated film of that year. One of my favorite films of the year. Absolutely loved it. I also had zero belief in Ted Lasso. I mean, a show based on a gag fake commercial from 9 years ago. I mean, seems kind of silly. And I thought, oh, okay, so an American football coach gets hired, but all right, that's a shtick that's going to get old real fast. And I didn't even love the first episode. I was like, yeah, it was all right. And so let's give it a couple more. People say it's great. And now I'm hooked. Absolutely hooked. Like everybody else in the world, I love Ted Lasso. I love that thing. We've been waiting patiently for season 3, and now we've got word. Ted Lasso Season 3 officially sets a spring premiere and release date, as well as releasing their first look at Ted and Nate. It says this in Variety: the third season of the hit Apple TV Plus comedy series Ted Lasso will premiere in the spring of 2023. The season also has a new first look image, as seen above, depicting Ted and Nathan facing each other off as becoming rivals in Season 2. All right. So first of all, it's coming soon. So it's going to be before the summer. That's great. Coming out. I mean, look, nothing kind of epitomizes how Apple defied expectations when launching their Apple TV Plus service. I remember their first event, Tim Cook on stage, and they announced Apple TV Plus, and they brought out all their stars and everything. And I remember, ooh, that was boring. I had, like, that was a dud. I don't think, but Ted Lasso kind of was that flare in the air signifying the world, hey, take us seriously. And then they've had things like Severance, that their morning show is fantastic. They've had several other things. I love Mythic Quest. I mean, they've done things, but it all hinges on Ted Lasso. And if we go back to that webpage for a second, Jonathan, I put up a social media post about this the other day. More than Joffrey Baratheon. More than any on-screen villain you can name. I have never felt in the core of my being a desire to see a fictional character butchered and slaughtered and murdered in the most horrendous, brutal way than I want to see Nate. Nate gotta fucking die. I've like, this show has done such a good job. Like, I didn't even realize how much they made me fall in love with the Ted character till a character betrayed Ted. And I'm like on a visceral level, I'm like, that guy's gotta, he can't be embarrassed. He can't lose his job. He's gotta die. He's gotta die. But of course, in Ted Lasso fashion, I'm sure they're going to redeem the character because that's what Ted does. Anyway, Rob, you hear about this. What do you think?
Well, first of all, it looks like an upcoming science fiction show that still, I was like, I'm in. But look, you can't. Let me ask you this. Putting aside that you want him to die, how do you think in Ted Lasso's style, how do you think they're going to handle him? Because he's a great bad guy.
He'll overcome him with goodness. He'll overcome him with charm and love and seeing how great humanity can be, and it's going to make Nate feel bad. He'll be redeemed, but I want to see him die. I want to see.
No, I mean, this show's, it's funny. I was not going to watch this show at all. And it was because of you saying how much you liked it. And I started, and then Elizabeth loves it too. And you kind of get this show has like it's like a sorceress. She ensorcels you. This show ensorcels you.
Ensorcels.
It ensorcels you. You
heard it here first.
Because you start watching this show and it gets inside you and you feel it. Okay, it has a magic.
Calm down.
It's
kid show.
Ted Lasso comes inside of you and you feel
irresistible.
I told you this weekend, I've had enough of hearing things getting inside you. Anyway, Aaron, you hear about Ted Lasso. What do you think?
I think it's wonderful, welcome news. I want to give him a hug. And maybe that's because of the world of Ted Lasso. If this were on Game of Thrones, absolutely, I'd be like, slaughter him, rip his jugular out, take out his spinal cord, and beat him over the head with it.
Yes, and you should have stopped right there because you'd be right.
But in the world of Ted Lasso, it's like you see that he just wants what everyone wants.
Yeah.
He just wants to be seen. He just wants to be heard. He wants to be acknowledged. He wants to get the credit for his ideas. And when he feels like he's not being seen and heard, he lashes out and he acts out in irrational ways, just like we all do. And one of the things that I remember when this show came out, I mean, you got to think, this show premiered August of 2020, right when I think the world was starting, the greater world was starting to wake up to the reality of, oh, this isn't going to be over anytime soon.
Right, yeah.
And it was such a dark place for so many people. The sort of initial fun, if you want to call it that, of everybody getting to skip school for the day, had worn off real quick. And the weight of what this actually could mean for everyone's livelihoods, and after so much tragic loss, this show came as a welcome palate cleanser for all of us and just infused us with a reminder of how welcome a little kindness is in our world. And so I don't think that there's ever a time when we couldn't use a little more Ted Lasso and love. And if you live near a Go Get 'em Tiger like I do near Larchmont Village, they have those little biscuits that you can go and they go get, and they are delicious.
Can I just say this is a dope tux?
Oh, that's a sweet tux. And only Jason Sudeikis could pull it off.
Love it.
All right. Guys, question is for you. For those of you amongst the sane who want to see Nate die. But that's such a testament to how much they get you emotionally connected and affectionate.
I know. I've been sorcelled.
I love this show so much. And Nate is part of the reason I love the show so much. What do you guys think about this? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we have breaking news as another off the top, and we can go over to my NDI here. It is now being reported by Deadline that Disney moving on Tron Ares?
Yeah, man. Whatever that means.
With Joachim Roning in talks to helm Jared Leto in the sci-fi sequel. Now, I'm just seeing this for the first time. What do we got here? They are saying the following. They're saying a new installment of Tron is coming back online. The dish hears that Disney is in early negotiations to send Joaquin Roning to direct Jared Leto in Tron Ares. The film is crewing up, eyeing for an August start date, so they would have to be well into pre-production at this point. In Vancouver, of course, because everything shoots in Vancouver. Deals aren't complete yet, but this would mark the fourth collaboration between Disney and the Norwegian filmmaker who helmed Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, and Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. He has wrapped for the studio the Disney Ridley star Young Women at Young Women and the Sea, about the daring journey of Gertrude Ederle, a New York teen who became the first woman to swim across the English Channel. Jeff something or other scripted it, and Jerry Bruckheimer produces it with them. So, this is the idea of another Tron is one that has continued to be talked about for a long time. And after the last Tron, which despite having a fabulous soundtrack, isn't all that good.
No.
I really believe that, you know what? I have look, I always said everything's possible, but I had a hard time believing they would go back and try it again, considering the last one didn't, well, number one, wasn't all that great, but number two, didn't do all that well. So it looks like they are moving on it again. Rob, I know you've got some affinity for this franchise. What do you think about this? The director attachment, Jared Leto? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, what I find really interesting is Jared Leto's been attached to this new for a long time.
But I never thought it would happen.
I didn't either. And, you know, it's funny to me because obviously for the 20th anniversary of Tron, I made a feature-length documentary about the making of the film that you can see on the Blu-ray. But I thought the design work, the look of Tron Legacy
was fabulous.
Fantastic.
I thought it was great. Yeah.
Everything. The only problem with Tron Legacy, which I thought was really weird, I mean, when Tron was made in '82, there was no internet. It was speculation. But when they made Tron Legacy, the world had changed because of the internet, and yet they said that the world of Tron was walled off in something called the grid. So it didn't have anything to say about our new internet world. And there was no real interesting subtext other than the users and all that. So it was so cool. It had all the parts, but as a story, it was kind of inert. It didn't have much to say. But now, maybe with our world the way it is, with AI rising, they could do so many interesting things with the Tron movie using that world. I only hope that they do so. That it
sounds like you're describing to me Wreck-It Ralph 2. when they discover the internet.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Tron Ares, that title's intriguing. Yeah. Obviously evoking the God of War, so that could be cool.
Aaron, you hear about this? Were you a Tron fan or anything like that at all?
Of the original, I didn't really love the second one for those exact reasons. I felt like it was visually a spectacle, but my thing, I always go back to the story, and I just didn't feel like the story could hold water. Like Rob said, Ares, God of War and Courage, Greek God of War and Courage, son of Zeus and Hera. So I feel like if that is any indication of what we're going to get, I'm hoping that that's going to lean more into the story. Obviously, the technology and the creativity is going to be there to create a world that's going to be visually exciting. But I do hope that they lean more into the story. And you know what? Let's be honest. I know that Jared Leto has had a few missteps in the recent history, but Jared Leto is and always has been a phenomenal actor, an incredible performer, even to his very early days as Jordan Catalano on My So-Called Love.
But a great actor.
Great actor. And so what I hope is that, and he's a producer on this film as well. So I'm really hoping that this film is not just a bunch of eye candy, but really has a strong stories to support it.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think of this breaking news that it looks like Disney is moving forward, at least according to Deadline, with a new Tron movie called Tron Ares with the director of Dead Men Tell No Tales and Jared Leto starring, as has been rumored for a while. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's get on to today's Mint Mobile hotline question of the day. Of course, thanks to our friends at Mint Mobile, we have a hotline for you guys to call. If you have a question for the show and like to hear your voice on it, just call that number 951-268-4259 and maybe you'll hear your voice on the show here. Now, today's is asking about something that somebody brought up in the chat the other day, which is, hey, if people didn't watch Book of Boba Fett, are they a little bit confused by Grogu? Check it out.
Hey guys, my name is Josh. So my question revolves around a potential issue I see from the general viewer's perspective going into The Mandalorian Season 3. I imagine not everybody who watched The Mandalorian watched the Book of Boba Fett. So for some people, they're going to remember seeing Grogu leave, and then suddenly he's back in the show. I imagine they'll do a recap before the first episode begins, but I know a good bit of people who are probably going to just skip it. So when they see Grogu back, is there going to be a high percentage of confusion or complaints over time? I think I'd be pretty frustrated if I found out that I had to watch a whole other show before I watched Season 3. I doubt it affects the viewership, but I did see this being a potential issue when the Book of Boba Fett finished. Thanks, and with the reunion of Din and Grogu, may I say, bring on the family.
All right, thanks a lot, Josh, for saying that in the Hall of Family. This kind of got brought up the other day, so I'm glad you called that in. And, I kind of took it for granted, the fact that I had it in mind that, hey, look, if people watched Mandalorian, they're Star Wars fans. They're going to watch all Star Wars things. So they probably watched Book of Boba Fett. I'm realizing that wasn't true. And I had a very stark reminder of that at home. As I mentioned to my wife, Ann, did you see the new trailer for Mandalorian Season 3? And she said no. And I played it for it. And she went, wait a minute. How is Grogu there? And I forgot that Ann did what I wish I had done and ditched on Book of Boba Fett after the first episode or two.
Isn't that a breach of your marriage contract for her not to see every single Star Wars?
No, she had to see the original three Star Wars movies. That
I know you got something in writing like that.
Yes. But I realized, oh yeah, it's true. There are, and I've talked to people in the past 24, 48 hours that didn't watch the end of Book of Boba Fett. Now, to be clear up front here, I thought the episodes with Mando and Baby Yoda were actually the best episodes of the season for Book of Boba Fett. That being said, it really is awkward and odd because take Book of Boba Fett out of it for a minute. You're watching Mandalorian and you get through season 2 and you get to this incredible finale and Luke shows up and does some badass Jedi stuff and takes baby Grogu in this heartfelt, sentimental goodbye between Din and Baby Yoda and all that kind of stuff. Throw it out the window. Hey, he's back. Wait a minute. What did they just undermine this incredible finale? Like, it reminds me a little bit, actually, I'm trying to think of a better example, but like one of the things off the top of my head, I remember the end of Iron Man 3 when Tony said, that's it, not gonna be Iron Man anymore. Go take the arc reactor out of me, And then all of a sudden, what was it, Age of Ultron next? Hey, no, I'm back. No, I'm Iron Man. It's like, wait, what? For anybody who didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett, you're right. And Rob, you and I both kind of rationalize it by saying, when Mando season 3 episode 1 starts, it'll be a previously on the Mandalorian or in the Book of Boba Fett or previously on the journey of Din and Grogu. Then they're gonna highlight and show the effects. True, but it's gonna be jarring. I think
it is gonna be jarring.
That sort of thing.
It is,
and it does one thing that I really don't like, which is something that Marvel, for the most part, has been able to avoid until WandaVision and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, which is never make it a prerequisite to watch something else in order to watch your show. And Marvel always did a great job of it. There was really, I had a friend of mine stepped in, watched Infinity War before watching anything else in the MCU, was able to easily understand what was going on. Look, missed some of the nuance,
sure,
but totally easily understood what's going on. And this is kind of what started to kill the comic book industry when it's like, before you read the next issue of The Amazing Spider-Man, you got to go back and read Uncanny X-Men #1 or else you won't get it's like, wait, what? So it's a little thing. The audience will get over it very quickly. Everybody wants Baby Yoda back. I get it, but I agree. I think it's going to be a little bit jarring. What do you think?
I think it'll be jarring, but I think that they will have, they'll have to have a recap because it wasn't just that Grogu left. It was that Luke Skywalker took him.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a huge deal. And if you've not seen that, people are going to be like, wait, Luke was on the Book of Boba Fett?
Well, because remember, the entire basis of season 2, the entire basis of season 2 is you have to get this child to a Jedi.
Yeah.
That was it. The whole purpose of the season was that. And it builds up and builds up and builds up, and it ends with him being delivered in the hands of the ultimate Jedi, Luke Skywalker. And in an afterthought, in somebody else's show, they undo the entire purpose for season 2 of Mandalorian.
It is true.
It's a little bit jarring, I think.
But you did get to see, how can you miss Luke training Grogu? We got to get back to that, though. Previously.
For 5 minutes.
I know.
Oh, wait a minute. You don't want to be a Jedi. Well, you probably should have told Din that at the beginning of season 2 before we got to this point. I don't know. I don't know. Look, at the same time, we all acknowledge, right? There's no point in having a Mandalorian show without Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda. Oh my God.
Yes.
Baby Yoda gone bad. I mean, you couldn't go back to Mandalorian because when that little finger came out in episode 1 of season 1, it's like it broke the internet and it brought in a whole new audience. I mean, there's no way they could do it. I don't know, Aaron. I mean, look, I do think audiences will adapt very quickly, kind of like recasting a major character. I think they'll be like, wait a minute, and they'll see, okay, this is kind of weird. What about, all right, whatever, we're on board. But I do think it'll be a little jarring at first. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, to one of the points that was brought up in the question, our friend in the chat, Mr. 47, brought up a good point when he said, hey, man, you can't skip the recap and then be mad that you don't know what's going on. I think that I'm not concerned about people who are going to skip the recap.
Oh, yeah, I think even if you watch you're going to go, wait, what?
Right. But I mean, let's be real. We haven't seen the first episode yet. And even though there's going to be a recap that talks about, what happened in Boba Fett, it's going to add all of those things in. They understand. They understand that people have a short memory span. I mean, personally, my long-term memory is so bad I don't even know how to pronounce the word long because I said long-term memory.
Long-term memory.
Long-term memory is so bad. So I appreciate a good wait. Where are we? Get me back in the world. I am quite confident that the first 5-10 minutes of the episode is going to be not necessarily a recap, but an easing us back into the world and make it make sense for me. I think that they're going to do that. I have the utmost confidence in Lucasfilms that they're going to be able to get us all back on board. And by halfway through the first episode, we're not going to have any questions or concerns. It is funny that there's the whole purpose of season 1 kind of jumped the shark, so to speak. But you know what? They're still telling the story. We're still invested. We're still excited. And I think that they're trying to maybe do a little bit of a palate cleanser from Book of Boba Fett and just move forward with what they know is a winner.
I want to address something here too. One of our beloved channel members, Joey Bowie, wrote in the live chat and says, yeah, at the end of the day, it's your own fault for not following relevant Star Wars content. Can't hold your hand through it all. I completely, wholeheartedly disagree with that. Oh, you want to follow Star Wars? You have to follow all of it then. You can't just find a show you like and a character you like and follow it. Nope. You got to watch all of it.
Everything.
And that's what killed the comic book industry. Or at least one of the things that killed I disagree with that. You got to be able to compartmentalize it, like be a part of a grand universe, but you also have to compartment. Again, it's a remarkable thing that Kevin Feige was able to do with the MCU for like 15 years.
It's amazing. Well, I agree with you. I mean, you have to be able to watch whatever you want, whenever you want, and you shouldn't have to rely on a whole different show. But here's the thing. I don't believe that many people that are really excited for Mandalorian season 3 haven't.
I thought that
Book
too.
of Boba Fett.
I thought that too. But I talked to
He's
no
living
in person
with
than
one.
2 people yesterday that love Mandalorian, didn't watch Book of Boba Fett.
Wow.
And it's just like, ultimately at the end of the day, again, I think the audiences are going to adapt to it pretty quick. It will be a little jarring at first, I think, for some, but we'll get forward with it. But again, it's that principle of we're going to make it so like moving forward. So you're saying if for me to be allowed to enjoy this one show, I have to dedicate my time to watch all of your shows?
No, you can just watch 2 episodes.
I know, but I mean moving forward though. So I hope it's not something they fall into. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I think the viewers will be perfectly fine after a couple of minutes, maybe a little bit jarring at first. Maybe you think it'll have bigger ripples than that. I don't know. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're going to take just a quick minute here before we get into our main topics. And we're going to thank one of the sponsors of our show. We love them around here. You should absolutely check them out. Our friends at MasterClass. We want to thank a sponsor of this video, MasterClass. MasterClass offers classes on a wide variety of topics, all taught by world-class instructors at the very top of their fields. Each class is broken out into individual video lessons, usually around 10 minutes long. And MasterClass is completely accessible on your phone, the web, smart TV, and available via audio mode to listen to classes on the go. They have over 2,500 video lessons from over 180 of today's most brilliant minds. They're all available anytime, anywhere on iOS, Android, desktop, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Roku. Now, obviously around here on the John Campea Show, we love our movies, so why not learn filmmaking from Jodie Foster, or maybe directing from Ron Howard himself, or the great Neil Gaiman doing his masterclass on the art of storytelling. And you guys have heard me talk about my favorite masterclass, Business Strategy and Leadership by Big Papa Iger himself, Bob Iger, the new and returning CEO of Disney. Guys, I highly recommend that you check it out. This holiday, give the perfect gift of an annual masterclass membership and get one free. Go to masterclass.com/Campea today. That's masterclass.com/Campea. Terms apply. And thank you to our friends at MasterClass for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Remember, guys, when you support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So go down in the description of the video, right near the top, you'll find links to all of our sponsors and their promo codes. And again, thank you to MasterClass. All right, with that down, let's get into our main topics here today, shall we? And how do we select our main topics? Well, you guys come up with them. Whenever you come across a big topic that you guys feel we should cover here on the show, go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill out that form with your topic or question, then hit submit. It's totally free. And then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, Aaron, what is our first main topic today?
Our first main topic comes to us from James Lockman. Hey, John and crew, I just saw in an interview that Rian Johnson said the next film he's working on will be another installment of the Knives Out franchise, which I am down for. I've watched Glass Onion 6 times already, and with each viewing, I love it more and more. John, I know you're a big fan of these films as well, so does this news excite you, or would you like to see Rian Johnson do something different? I love this news. I mean, come on, who doesn't want to see the world's greatest detective Benoit Blanc, who sucks at playing Clue, in another mystery? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
All right, James, thanks a lot for writing that in. And you're not wrong. I love this franchise. I expected to like Knives Out when I saw it, but I was not prepared for how good it was. So I was expecting to really like Glass Onion. Again, not prepared for how much I was really going to like it. I mean, he's just made 2 fantastic films there. You asked me an interesting question about whether or not I think he should do something else. I mean, I kind of like what Christopher Nolan used to do. He would do a Batman movie, do a different movie.
Yeah.
Do a Batman movie, do a different movie. Do a Batman. I kind of like that. But don't forget, Rian Johnson, he's got it's Poker Face, right? That's the name of the show?
Mm-hmm. Which looks great.
Which looks fantastic. I haven't started watching. I didn't realize this is kind of an anthology series. It's a new mystery every single episode.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that, which makes me even more excited. So
I didn't know that Natasha Lyonne starred in it. Mm-hmm. You know, and I love her.
She's great.
Russian Doll. She's so
Fantastic in that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's kind of been keeping, his pokers in a bunch of different fires and going at the same time. And yes, that is his next project. We're not going to have to wait 4 or 5 years for the next one. It's coming up. This comes to us from Rian Johnson himself, who said the following: I'm making the next Benoit Blanc movie next because it's the most exciting thing right now to me. That served me really well. I feel like any movie I'm making, I need to be making it because I can't imagine doing anything else. I'm jumping into the next Benoit Blanc because I can't think about another story. I've got a big cloud of ideas, but it hasn't snapped into focus yet. It's exciting though, and it's very, very different from this one. That's what I'm excited about. So Rian Johnson's already writing the script. He's got a few things that he still hasn't got, but he's saying it's going to be very different from the other ones. I actually found Glass Onion to be quite different from Knives Out, despite the fact that at its core, it's still a murder mystery.
Absolutely. 100%.
And as long as they keep doing that, I'm thrilled. Like, as long as you keep getting back to that. I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that this is yet more definitive proof that there is no Rian Johnson Star Wars trilogy being made. I mean, let's just be clear about that. Because this is now another couple of years that he's going to be working on this thing. And by that point, Kathleen Kennedy is no longer the head of Lucasfilm. Yeah, so I've told you from the beginning, don't believe that there's going to be a Rian Johnson trilogy.
Right.
This kind of drives that home. But anyway, Rob, you hear his comments about this. He's jumping right into it again next. What do you think?
Well, what I love about this franchise is it's a auteur-driven franchise. It's a writer-director making these movies. And I like that because you feel a sense of real authorship. I'm always looking for that. At the end of the day, you feel that this is the vision of one person. And it's interesting. That vision's interesting. And when you watch when I watched Glass Onion, I liked how it was different. It wasn't just a rehash of the first film, and look, even if Glass Onion wasn't a Benoit Blanc movie, I would have been fascinated by the interplay between the characters and all the revelations as it moves along. And then add to that it did become a mystery. I really think that I have so much fun watching his characters, and that's always been the case for the most part. I mean, even going back to his first feature, Brick, which was a noir movie set in high school. I was fascinated by it. I love the way the characters talk to each other, and this bunch of ne'er-do-wells was so much fun to watch. I thought this movie was wildly entertaining.
Aaron, I mean, we talked the other day about some of the casts and stuff like this, but I mean, I love hearing that, why wait 2 or 3 years? Get right to it. Go into it right away. I don't know. You hear about this, right approach for them for this franchise, wrong approach. What do you think?
Well, I'm so excited about this news. And interestingly enough, I was listening to Rian Johnson's interview with Craig Mazin and John August on the Script Notes podcast on my way here. It's episode 579 that came out on December 20th. So any of you podcast listeners out there, check that out. And they actually talk about this third installment of the film and how he developed Glass Onion. It is a really fascinating episode of how he wanted to do a complete departure, but yet keeping Benoit Blanc, in the way that we love him, having him be the through line. They actually have an AI script generator make the third movie for them, which is funny. And they just kind of throw out some ideas, and then they have this AI write a script about it. So it's really interesting. But Robert Meyer Burnett and I are clearly sharing a brain today, because I was also going to bring up Brick, which was such a fantastic movie. I love the noir genre. Double Indemnity is one of my favorite movies. And given that Rian Johnson is so talented in the noir style of filmmaking, I would be beyond thrilled if that is what we see for the third installment, given that he already has experience doing this. However, whatever he does, I know that it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fresh. It's going to give us all the same things that we expect from this franchise, which is Benoit Blanc solving the crime right away and then having to go back and resolve the crime, thinking, oh my God, that's the person that did it. Well, no, actually, yeah, that is the person that did it. It all comes right back around. The storytelling is beautiful. It's fun. And let's face it, he has a damn good eye for bringing in old school talent that we love, like Don Johnson, bringing back Don Johnson, and then also pairing them with fresh new talent. I love the ideas of casting, and definitely go check out that episode 579 of Script Notes.
By the way, it was killing. I feel stupid. I didn't even realize this till this morning. Watching the movie, I'm like, I know the girl playing Kate Hudson's assistant. I know her. It's Jessica Henwick. Colleen Wing from Iron Fist.
Yeah, and also from the Matrix Resurrection.
Yes, the total awful Matrix movie we will never speak about again. God, that was garbage. But yeah, I love her, so that was exciting to see. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? They're not going to wait for a couple of years, but Rian Johnson's moving right into it right away. How do you guys feel about that? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, that down. Let's move on to main topic number 2, shall we? Aaron, what's our second main topic today?
Our second main topic is from Eddie Burton. Hey guys, I got to ask. Does James Cameron deserve as much praise as he's getting for his box office success? It's incredible what he's done, but I feel like a lot of people are ignoring the fact that Titanic and Avatar have been re-released multiple times, and that gross counts towards the final box office. Infinity War and Endgame made their money only being released once in theaters.
All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, Eddie. And I decided to take this question today because it actually comes up a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of Marvel fanboys, of which I'm one, a lot of Marvel fanboys will often try to come up with an excuse or some talk around about Endgame's really the number one film. No, it's not. No, it's just look at any chart. It's not. But it's at least a valid question about, Avatar had re-releases. So there's something about Avatar. There's an extenuating circumstance about Avatar that is not normal for most films, the re-releases that contributed to its box office. So should it get all this credit? considering there was this extenuating circumstance about it getting it. I understand that. Because it did. I mean, just recently it was re-released again, made like 40 something million in its re-release. I mean, that's nothing to its 2.9 billion, but still, and it made a little bit of money in its other re-release. So it's fair. So I thought we would address this for a second here. And let's go into the Campea classroom for a moment, shall we? Mm-hmm. All right. While it is true that with Avatar, you were asking, should Avatar really get all this credit? Because it had this external circumstance, the re-releases. So really, should James Cameron get credit for having the biggest film of all time? Well, okay, let's look at Endgame. Let's take a second and look at Endgame for a moment, shall we? All right. First thing that we really do need to point out when it comes to Endgame also had a re-release. Now, not as many re-releases, but it did that whole stupid gimmick that I hated they started doing for a bit. Like, let's put it out again. But guys, come back again, because you're going to see an unfinished Hulk scene in it. And they added that little extra gimmick foot stuff like that. Now, Endgame wasn't the only film to do that, but I'm just saying, let's not forget that Endgame itself also had a re-release. Now, if we want to talk about extenuating circumstances, but that's not normal for other films and other movies that count. Well, here's the thing. Endgame had an 11-year franchise buildup. I mean, Avatar, most films, but particularly Avatar, was a standalone movie that did not have some long-running history. It didn't have an 11-year buildup or anything like that. It was a standalone movie, boom, came into theaters, and it performed. Whereas Avengers Endgame, well, it had what some franchise movies have, but not many. It had an 11-year buildup. That's something that Avatar simply did not have. Let's look at another point here about extenuating circumstances when it came to Endgame. Endgame had over 15 major A-list megastars in the movie, all of which were playing characters that had already been established and made popular in other movies. So it wasn't just that Endgame, because you got like what's the Sky is Falling movie that was just on Netflix with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Don't Look Up.
Don't Look Up, right? Yeah. You have movies like Don't Look Up that Timothée Chalamet, Leonardo DiCaprio,
Jennifer Lawrence,
had a stacked cast, but they were all playing characters. Stupid watch. They were all playing characters nobody had ever heard of, nobody had ever seen. Endgame had like, and I could bring up the list if you want, but you know who they are. They had
Heavy hitters, man.
15 A-list actors who weren't just A-list actors. They were all characters that the audience already knew, were invested in, made popular in their other movies, and blah, blah, blah. That is something 99.999% of other movies never have. So Endgame also had that little bit going for it. There's one other thing, though, that I think we need to, and it's kind of connected a little bit to the notion of that it had an 11-year buildup, but it's that while Avatar was a standalone movie in 2009, Endgame had 21 movies that all built it up, most of which were made by other filmmakers and other writers and other storytellers, all building up to make this one big thing. Avatar didn't have that.
Nope.
Most films, none. I can't think of a single other film that had a 21 film buildup to it.
And the MCU predated the movies by decades. You had comic characters all the way back to the 40s, like Captain America.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the last thing I was going to bring up.
We're all sharing a brain with Rob today.
Comic for decades. Endgame not only got to build on an 11-year time span buildup, have 15 major stars, all playing characters everybody already knew were made popular, had a 21 other movies lifting it up that other filmmakers made, but it was all predicated on characters and IP that went back generations with Marvel Comics. Now, am I saying that all these advantages and extenuating circumstances and unique context for Endgame, do I think this forces us to ask, should Endgame really get credit for being a, $2.8 billion film? No, I'm not. The number's still the number. Even though it had all those advantages, even though it had all those very unique circumstances, even though it had all those unique that criteria that no other film had going for it, the number is still the number. I believe it's still completely legitimate. All I'm saying, Rob, is that you can't go, Avatar kind of had this advantage where it had made a couple of extra, double-digit, not triple, double-digit re-releases. Yeah, so maybe that should count. If you're going to do that, then you got to look at Endgame and say, does Endgame actually deserve the credit that it gets? I say absolutely yes to both. I don't know, Rob, how would you address this?
Well, I think that you did a good job explaining, but the thing about Avatar, I think more than any other thing is it's unique in itself. No one had ever seen anything like it before. So not only did it not have this background stuff, it's nothing that anybody could wrap their head around until you see it. To use another Matrix example, you can't be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. And Avatar was kind of like that. And my mom being a perfect example, she's like, what? I always bring it up because going to see that movie with her was such a moment because my mom is totally pragmatic and unimaginative. And she was completely captivated by it. And I'm like, this is why this movie is going to be a monster hit. And I feel the same has happened with Avatar Way of Water. People have gone, there hasn't been one person. And this happened to me last night. I ran into somebody at the grocery store and they're like, dude, you see Avatar? Like, come on, who am I? Of course it's Avatar. but they were like, it was amazing, and they weren't somebody who loves sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. But that's what Avatar has. I mean, I expected Endgame to be huge. We were sitting here debating. You were saying, I don't think Avatar 2 is going to make $2 billion. And I was like, I don't know, man. I thought it would make money. We didn't know. It's because these movies are singular and they're unique. And like you said, if you want to start playing that, and you've said this before on the show, if you want to play that box office game and go look back, movies used to be re-released all the time.
Yes.
That was the only way to see them, whether it was Wizard of Oz or Gone with the Wind. They would get re-released every 3 or 4 years. Disney animated shows. Heck, you could see Song of the South in the theater. Disney released that up until 1986. They were still re-releasing all of their movies because they weren't out on home video. And that's how they made money. And all those box office dollars have always gone toward the final tally of the movies. And, if you adjusted, if you wanted to start playing that game, adjust for inflation. Like if you do that, Gone with the Wind's made like $8 billion or something. So you can't, like you've always pointed out, and I think astutely so, you've always said, look, the number's the number right now. You can't start judging it based on ticket sales. You can't do it based on inflation. You just have to go with the number because there's all these other factors that play into it. And I think that Avatar deserves it.
I had a question real quick. Yeah. For first runs, did Avatar still make more than Endgame? Then it's not a question. Then it just did.
I can't remember, to be honest.
Like just for that one release, did that make more?
I don't know because I can't remember how much Endgame made in its initial.
And then also, Avatar it skews toward IMAX theaters, whereas Endgame played on a lot more screens than Avatar did. So, if you start getting into these.
Right, but again, then there's the other extenuating factor, right? That's what I've always said. Like, if you want to take other variable, if you want to, you can't just take one variable into account. If you want to start taking variables into account, you got to take them all. And somebody brought up to me the other day, well, yeah, but talking about the new Avatar, Avatar 2, Avatar, it's playing a lot of IMAX, so the ticket prices are really high. Yeah, that means they're going to have a harder time selling tickets. Because what do you think is easier to sell? A $100 thing or a $1 thing?
Right.
I mean, so yeah, you want to take the variable of, well, the ticket price is right here. Well, then take in the variable that's going to be more of a deterrent to more people buying tickets. So again, you can't start playing pick and choose with which variables you want to count and which variables you don't want to count. The number is the number. And it is what it is. I don't know. Aaron, what do you think about this whole thing?
Well, Rob just brought up the point of, the number of theaters that it's shown in. When Avatar was released in 2009, it was released on approximately 3,500 theaters nationwide. When Endgame was released in 2019, it was released in approximately 4,600 theaters nationwide. So that's more than 1,000 theaters per day. So like that right there is a huge variable that you have to account for. I mean, at the end of the day, these are...
That's a great stat, by the way. That's a terrific stat.
Yeah,
I love that.
It is.
Thanks. many wins here, so I take them when I can. At the end of the day, you just don't bet against James Cameron. And this is a filmmaker who is someone who everyone, whether they are in front of the camera, below the line, everyone in Hollywood wants to work with James Cameron. Not because he's a nice guy. There's a lot of big stories about that, but because he is doing something different. He's not just making a movie. He's revolutionizing the entire industry, and he is on the cutting edge. You want to talk about variable frames per second? No. This guy in...
No.
Jonathan, I love you. Well, let's talk about variable frames per second, because in one movie, and this is not something that I know because I'm smart, because I'm not. This is just off the Script Notes podcast with Craig Mazin and John August. They talk about how in one movie he's switching up the frames per second, where it's going to be more frames per second in an underwater scene, kind of like how we watch a football game or sports, where you really are seeing, you're seeing it quick. It's almost if you're right there in the action. And then for a scene that's more dialogue heavy, where you want to slow it down, he's decreasing the frames per second to go back to a more traditional 24 frames per second. And for the filmmakers who are listening and watching the show, you know what I'm talking about, and you know how challenging that is. And to do that and weave that into the orchestration of your storytelling is not just forward thinking. It's almost revolutionizing the way that filmmaking is done, the way that we're watching it. So this is not to take away from Endgame, but let's be real. Why is it even a comparison? James Cameron is doing something that is making our industry that much better, and we, the viewers, are the ones who get to benefit from it. And what's also great is we also get movies like Endgame, which are just fantastic too, for different reasons.
And by the way, Endgame will be re-released again.
Oh, yeah.
Before Avengers 5, they will release Endgame again. And it very well could pass Avatar. And when it does, it counts.
Yes, it does.
It counts. Then it'll be the #1 film of all time. Listen, if you're a movie and you are the type of movie that people will keep coming, even if they own it on home video in 7 different copies and on digital and all that kind of stuff, but people will still pay money for the movie to come back, then you deserve that to be added to your box office, and Endgame will be the #1 film again. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Whatever thoughts you are on all the different variables, jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 3. Aaron, what is our third main topic today?
Our third main topic comes to us from Jesse Roy. Hey, John and crew, I just saw on Instagram that Rotten Tomatoes is reporting that Megan is getting a sequel called Megan 2.0, and it's set to release in theaters on January 17th, 2025. I loved the movie. I've seen it 7 times in theaters because I love thrillers. What do you expect to happen in this sequel? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
All right, Jesse, thanks a lot for saying that in. Megan is one of my already, I can't remember when I saw it. When did it open?
January 6th.
So, okay, this year, not 2022, this year, is already my most pleasant surprise movie of the year. Now, whether it stays that way, it's early. We'll find out. But I had a ball. And now, again, is Megan going to end up in my top 10 films of the year? No. But I had a ball. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. That little frickin' doll was so creepy. And when it would do certain things and say certain things, it would be freaky as hell or hilarious as hell. It just ran the gamut. And the cast was great. And again, for me, the main great thing about it was, and this is where we're getting into the sequel stuff. The main thing about this movie was that it was ultimately a story about a woman trying to connect with a little girl. That's what the movie is.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, then it's just another low budget knife. I don't know what that was supposed to be. But at the core of the story, it's about a woman trying to connect with a little girl. And that's what made me wonder about when the inevitable discussions talked about, is there going to be a sequel? Because, I mean, let's say, what's it done? 8 times its budget already? It's crazy what it's done. I thought, okay, but how? How do you do it without losing the humanity of the movie? Well, they took a big step towards that because they are bringing back the original cast, which is great. This comes to us from the folks over at Variety who wrote the following. Get ready for more Megan. The internet's favorite demonic dancing doll is returning to theaters in 2025. Megan 2.0 is a sequel to Atomic Monster, and Blumhouse's campy thriller is officially now in the works. Universal has scheduled the movie to debut in theaters on January 17th, 2025, so less than 2 years from today. Screenwriter Akela Cooper is returning to pen the script. Plot details haven't been revealed, though Allison Williams, whose character helped bring the life to the chaotic AI-like doll, will be back for 2.0, as well as Megan's pint-sized bestie, played by Violet McGraw, who, of course, Aaron knows. Gerald Johnstone directed the first film, but a director has not been announced for the sequel. That, again, comes us from Variety. Tell you what, I love it. I love that they're bringing the little girl back again, keep the humanity of it, because listen, there would be the temptation. We've seen some other franchises go, well, now let's do Wreck-It Ralph 2 and what Tron 2 should have been. Gets out on the web. Oh, and what's the web good? No, bring it back to its humanity. I love that. I can't wait to see this. Aaron, you hear about this. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I think it's fantastic. First of all, I'm thrilled for Violet McGraw. Wonderful young actress, lovely young lady with a fantastic, very grounded family. I always kind of shudder a little bit when you hear child actors, but it's nice to know when they come from solid backgrounds. And so with this, one of the things that that makes you what makes me automatically go, okay, this was a good experience, is the fact that so many people are coming back. The fact that there's not a director that's been announced makes me think that perhaps Gerard Johnstone, who was the director of the first Megan, I would venture to guess that perhaps they're trying to figure out how to make it work with his schedule. To have him come back, because as we see the writers coming back, the two stars are coming back, that bodes well for just the way that this film was as an experience overall, and that translates when you see the film, how it came together and the promotion of the film and the excitement surrounding the film. I love the fact that this is something that captured people's imaginations. It resonated with people, like you said, because at the heart of it was a real story about love and longing. And then it just turned around and scared the crap out of everybody. Because who didn't have a doll, whether it was, remember, for those of us Gen Xers, my buddy, and me.
I want to go.
Wherever he goes, I go. Yes, my buddy. It was basically, and then Chucky came out like 4 days later, and everybody went, okay, forget my buddy. Let's throw him in the trash. This is definitely a movie that speaks to my generation. And maybe for the what are those American Girl dolls? It's the same thing. It's all playing into that, and I love it. I'm here for it. Congratulations to everybody involved, and I hope that Gerard Johnstone is able to come back as a director. He did a beautiful job with the first one.
Now, of course, this movie was made for $12 million. It's already made 96.
Yes.
So it's at the end of the day, it made another 18 million this weekend, only dropping 39% from its opening week.
That's crazy.
Which means word of mouth is crazy, and it's going to cross the 10 times its budget mark.
Yeah.
To put that in context, if Avatar: The Way of Water did that, it would end up being a $4.5 billion film.
Well, no, because there was re-releases and
But there was a re-release. Anyway, Rob, you're hearing about this. What do you think?
Well, the first time I heard about this, I followed Jason Blum on Twitter, and all he tweeted out was Megan 2.0. And I'm like, that's because at first you're like, that's what a great title that would be. And of course, now we know it was real. He didn't just say that, throw it out there to see what the zeitgeist would tell him if it was good or not. Why not? To me, this is a no-brainer, John. Even if they make a sequel, I mean, it's not, maybe they'll make it like Aliens, and instead of one Megan, there's 20 of them.
No.
So, I mean,
they're all around us, man.
Megan has now been put in the houses of all Americans. Like Halloween 3, everyone getting the masks, and somebody's going to flip a switch, and the army of Megans is going to take over, and I don't know. I have no idea.
So you're saying this is a Terminator Origins film?
Well,
or like Scream 6, which we'll be talking about.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I just think it's a perfect idea. It makes sense. People love it. Megan's a meme. It's like you said. It's made $100 million. It's going to make even more. This is a no-brainer to make the sequel, and make the sequel fast, like the movie we're going to talk about soon was made very fast based on the success of the one that came before it. So it's a good, with horror, it's a license to print money.
And it goes to show you how confident they are in it, that they already have their release date. Like, they haven't even gotten the script and they're like, this is when it's coming out. We feel confident about it. And you know that the writer, and I love the fact that the same writer is coming back, because she's just been ruminating on, where would I go from here if I could? And she probably pitched it already. And they're like, great, let's just roll right into it.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? Megan 2.0 is coming out basically almost exactly a year from now. What did you think about the original? Are you excited about a sequel? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's get into main topic number 4. Aaron, where's our 4th main topic today?
Our 4th main topic comes to us from Brooklyn Kev. Hey, John and crew, reflecting back on Phase 4's Disney Plus slate, I reached a weird paradox. I'm not a huge fan of most of the recent MCU series, but each of them has gotten their heroes over to me, to borrow a wrestling phrase. While I didn't necessarily enjoy She-Hulk as a show, I'm excited to see her character on the big screen. Same for Moon Knight. Well, it got me thinking, does the MCU have to produce top-notch Disney Plus programming, or do they just need to get the characters over?
All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Brooklyn Kev. By the way, I was saying next year, 2025 is 2 years from now. So it's coming January, so it's 2 years from now. Not next year. My apologies. Okay, Marvel Phase 4. Which is now in our rear view mirror. Feels weird to say that, now in our rear. By the way, I don't know if you saw that meme that somebody shared with me. I put up on my social media the other day. But it's like in Avengers Endgame, we picked up, after the snap, we picked up 5 years later to 2023. It's now 2023.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's weird. That's the way I feel thinking about Phase 4 now being in our rear view mirror. Still feel like I'm in the theater watching Endgame going, I can't wait for Phase 4 to start. Anyway, Phase 4 was a bit of a letdown. And I say a bit of a letdown. Not bad. It had some things that were fantastic about it. Absolutely brilliant stuff in Phase 4. But more than the normal amount of things that were underwhelming. Then I would contend that we had more things that were underwhelming in Phase 4 than we had in all of Phase 1, 2, and 3 combined.
Totally agree.
So it was, while still good, I believe the weakest of the phases. But I think the person writing in brings up a very, very good point about, because somebody asked me a while ago, if you had to say the one thing that Phase 4 did perfectly well, what is it? And I couldn't really come up with an answer off the top of my head. I thought maybe this, maybe this, maybe this. But this person asking the question, I think nails it. The thing that they did really great, not that it excuses some of the mediocrity we had in Phase 4, but the one thing I think they actually crushed was exactly what they just said. They got the new characters over with us. Because as I go through the list, and I look at the shows that I didn't end up liking very well, I have to go, well, now that I think about it, I still ended up liking the character. Let's take a look at this. So this is a list of all of the Phase 4 stuff. Oh, Lord. Well, WandaVision was freaking awesome. I mean, so that's still the gold standard of
got our
Disney
new secondary characters that we want to see.
Got some great secondary characters. Falcon the Winter Soldier. I didn't love Falcon Winter Soldier, but damn it, I love the characters. I loved Sam. And I loved Bucky. I mean, it made me like Bucky even more. It made me like Sam even more.
Yep.
It did a great, even though I didn't love this. Loki. Again, I didn't love Loki. But I loved, number one, how Loki came across. And I even ended up liking the other Loki variant. That is what's
Sylvie? Or did you like the Loki variant? That
Sylvie. That's what I'm talking about. Right. I ended up really liking her, even though I didn't love the show. Black Widow. Did not love the movie. But I loved Yelena. I loved Yelena. She's great. So they did a good job there. What If? It's an animated thing, whatever.
Yeah, but we got Ultimate. We got Infinity War
Ultron.
Which they're bring that character to Secret Wars, please.
Then we get into Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Brand new character, brand new lead, and you guys know what I think about Shang-Chi. I think is a top 5 MCU film. I cannot wait to see more of Simu Liu in this world, in this franchise. Totally got over with me. Eternals, not as good as I was hoping it would be.
No.
But I'll tell you what, Druig and Makari, what? Kingo? What? I love the characters.
Gemma Chan.
And Gemma Chan. I love Gemma Chan.
Me too.
But I mean, even though I ended up liking the characters more than I liked the movie. Hawkeye. I did not like Hawkeye, but I love the character Hawkeye. And damn it, I even ended up liking Haley Steinfeld's character.
She was great.
And so while I didn't like the show, I'm like, I could watch more of her. Yeah, I could. Well, Spider-Man No Way Home, Moon Knight, another show that I ended up being a little disappointed in. But would I line up to see more of Moon Knight, that character?
Oh, yeah.
Hell yes, I would. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, America Chavez. Damn right. I would love to see more America Chavez. Where are we at now? Miss Marvel to me might be the character that I fell most in love with.
And
the family and the whole bit.
to speak to the viewer, to our viewer who wrote in, she's going to be the first character that's going to make the transition from a show onto the big screen,
right, with the
this
Marvels.
year.
Yep.
So we're going to see how that works. And John, we both love the show. I'm actually excited to see that.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. Now, She-Hulk did not end up liking that show. But I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that, hey, the character is going to pop up in another thing. I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you I'd be looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, she's a great character.
It's a great character. Played by a world-class actress, and I ended up liking the character. I just couldn't stand the writing.
Yeah.
It was so not funny. Anyway, Werewolf by Night. I mean, really enjoyed Werewolf by Night. Can't wait to see more of that character.
And Man Thing.
And yeah, Man Thing as well.
Don't forget Man Thing.
I mean, so I think you, again, going back to the question I was asked a few weeks ago, have they done really great? And I couldn't really answer it. I think that's it. They did a good job, as you say in wrestling terminologies, putting over the new characters, even when the properties they were in weren't all that great. And listen, I got to tell you, that positions them well. You know, I've been very critical of Phase 4. I have. And I think I'm justified for being so. But as somebody who's critical of Phase 4, I got to say, as I look at this list, I got to say it, you know, this positions them well. It's like, again, I often compare the entertainment business to sports. When you're a general manager and you've got loads of talent in your farm team and you got a lot of high draft picks coming, you're positioned well. They're positioned well going into Phase 5 and Phase 6. Anyway, Rob, this concept about whether the shows or movies disappoint us or not, they seem to have put over these characters. How would you respond to that?
Well, I think that they have. And, you know, that was also true of the comics themselves. You'd have a lesser known comic run, and then that character like Moon Knight was a small character. And then Moon Knight finally winds up in things like West Coast Avengers. And then suddenly he's got a bigger team. And I think they're doing the same thing with these characters because the MCU, even on TV, it's still they're still swinging for the fences, even though I think they've been less successful. But the characters that they're conveying and the characters that they're creating for these shows are no less thought through than their big screen counterparts. They want these characters to succeed because the plan is to have brought these characters together all the time, and they wouldn't want you to look at that character like Miss Marvel and go, oh, she belongs on TV. You know, these characters, even though they appear on a TV show, are designed to work on the big screen and interact with any of their other characters. And I mean, that's why Oscar Isaac is playing Moon Knight, not some, no offense to any actors, but no offense to any actors that might be in this room, but just a TV character.
I'm offended.
You know, I mean, but there used to be that thought that actors were TV actors and then film actors wouldn't go to TV. That's all gone out the window. So the characters that they're giving us in these streaming shows are absolutely movie caliber characters.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this notion that maybe this is the one thing that Phase 4 really did nail and get right? Do you agree that whether you loved or didn't like the shows, for the most part, the new characters really have gone over with a lot of the audience? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic. Are we on 5 already? Main topic number 5. Aaron, what is our 5th main topic today?
Our 5th main topic comes to us from Son of Krypton 17. Hey, John and crew, the Scream 6 trailer dropped today, and it looks awesome. I'm a huge fan of the Scream movies, and the Radio Silence team looks to have knocked this one out of the park. What are your thoughts, guys?
All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Krypton17. It's hard to express how little interest I've had in Scream 6. Never been a big fan of the Scream franchise. And then the latest one I actually quite enjoyed. I was there with Ray. I had a good time with the latest Scream. But again, there's a fundamental flaw to me with the Scream franchise. Unlike Freddy, unlike Jason, unlike Michael, this is a different character every time. It's like, really? Again? Another person? Like, at some point, did they ban the sale of this costume? Again, just another random person. Well, I'm going to put on the mask. I'm going to stabby. I mean, really? Every single time. So you can't get attacked. Like Jason's
Stabby.
Jason is an icon. Freddy is an icon, right? And it doesn't have that. And then after the last one, and then we heard, of course, Neve Campbell wasn't coming back. And then they dropped that utterly terrible little teaser where it's, oh no, we're on the subway. Oh no, somebody's wearing the mask. It was stupid. So the new trailer drops. I thought, well, this is going to be stupid too. Hot damn, it was great. It's a great trailer. And you know what? They finally made me feel like this new Ghostface makes sense. It's somebody who has actually been following and has been like for years building up to this, having their own freaking Batcave that they go into and find and all that kind of stuff. It's like you've never, and I love that Courtney Cox says, listen, there's been like 10 other guys like you doing the shit. Ain't ever been one like me. And this was the first time that for a Scream trailer that I went, I'm excited to see this. What's happening? This looked like a really good conceit for the movie. And I'll tell you what, I think this was the best trailer to a Scream. I'm not saying this is going to be the best Scream movie ever, but I think this might have been the best trailer to a Scream movie ever. Because what do we always say? The job of a trailer is to take your enthusiasm level no matter where it is and bump it up. My enthusiasm level could not have been lower. And I'm quite excited to see it now. I think they did a banger job with this trailer, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing it now. Anyway, Aaron, you had a chance to watch the Scream trailer. What do you think? You gonna be rushing out to see it?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. It literally is. It looks so good and so terrifying. This will be one of those movies that you and Rob are not allowed to sit behind me if we watch, because I will have my knees will be in my armpits. I will be crawling up into a tiny little ball the entire time in the movie theater.
Quick story. Have to tell the story.
Okay.
So we're at CinemaCon back in April, and we are sitting in a screening, an advanced screening of Black Phone. And Rob and I are sitting beside Aaron, and she was exactly as she just described. Balled up, like tight as a guitar string, and like totally tense. And in a moment of quiet in the movie, I did the total asshole thing. I was like,
yeah.
Blah! And she was like,
I screamed. I turned around. I started punching him. He came home.
I'll sit a few
battered.
seats away from you in Scream 6.
And she was not only that, you were so upset you called one of the producers of the movie afterwards.
It's like, how dare you?
I called Ryan Turek from Blumhouse, and I just started like screaming at him and left him this screaming, tragic voicemail. And he's never called me back. So I feel like he's just like, that girl needs to stop watching scary movies. But no, this does look like, I'll be honest. I saw the first Scream. I loved it. I've never been that excited to see any of the other ones because I just kind of go, blah, blah, more of the same. This definitely looks like something different. And not just because I'm something different, is, he says that. But this looks like a movie that you might need to wear a diaper to go see because it is so terrifying. Yes, that shot on the subway. We've seen it played out so many times, but for some reason, this just looked different and scarier. And the fact that it's not just Jason and it's not just Freddy. If Jason's in the closet, you know that he's not, on the front porch, theoretically. Just kidding. He's on the front porch too. But with this one, anybody could be Ghostface. And because of the culture that we live in, and we've seen it play out in, Joker. I mean, that subway scene is very reminiscent of Joker. Because of the copycat syndrome, this looks like something that could be real. And that's the stuff that scares me the most is I can have a suspension of disbelief with Freddie and Jason. This is way too real for me. So I just go, I don't know if I want to see this. I don't know if I can sit through this without having a panic attack. But it's also really, I think that the best thing that could have happened to this movie was the show Wednesday. I mean, talk about the best. I mean, Wednesday being a hit and Jenna Ortega becoming an absolute star, and deservingly so. I mean, I love Neve Campbell. I think she's very talented. She is the GOAT of Scream. But I hate to say it, I didn't miss her in this, because I just go, oh, there's Jenna Ortega. I'm excited to see her. And I hate to say that. I really do, because I love Neve Campbell and everything she does. But I just go, our audience is going to feel the same way. The same people that said, well, if Neve...
The hardcore ones will. The hardcore Scream fans will. But I think
don't
more
know.
people like me,
but I also want to give
who's
a
not,
quick shout out
won't.
to my friend Rich D'Elia, who cast this movie beautifully. He also cast It and It Too. He's like the king of all of this. And I think he did a great job of casting Scream 6. I'm excited to see it.
Rob, what did you think about the trailer?
I thought, like you, the trailer was a banger. I thought it was a great trailer, and not only was this trailer great, but you brought up specifically this scene on the subway, having all that context now, and that it's Halloween night, and this killer, what the killer is able to do, the fact that somebody comes at this killer with a shotgun, the Ghostface will take the shotgun and turn the tables, just blow that guy away.
Yeah,
it looks like what I loved about this movie is, the Scream franchise has always kind of worked in there's always been a humorous bent to it, a postmodern kind of approach. I like the fact that this iteration of the Ghostface killer is just a stone cold psycho. Like there's no out in the open, in the middle of a convenience store. He's not afraid to just plug a dude with a shotgun and going after Courtney Cox. I mean, unrelenting. And then finding out that I love the idea that that he has a lair. That he somehow acquired all of the Ghostface killer costumes, and they're acknowledging that the rich history. But going to New York, I mean, in New York, this killer could go on a kill crazy rampage a long time before he's caught, because New York is a hard place, man. And I looked at this, and I think there's gonna be more gore. I find the premise more interesting. I think I'm more excited for this Scream sequel than any Scream sequel since the first movie, only because it interests me so much. Like, I think this scene now, knowing what's actually going on with 10 different people dressed up as the Ghostface killer, that's terrifying. And knowing that the real Ghostface killer is on that, suddenly it becomes something that isn't cliche and turns it into really suspenseful. So I'm in, John. I was surprised how much I wanted to see this movie right away.
Well, anybody who has been in Manhattan during SantaCon knows how real this is. Do you know what SantaCon is?
Never heard of it.
So
I can imagine it, but I've never heard of it.
I was out of the city and went on like a wine fest with some girlfriends, and I got the train, and I get on the train to go back into the city towards Grand Central, and there's somebody dressed like Santa Claus, and it was like July or whatever. I was like, that's funny. And then I look down and I see 3 more Santa Claus. I was like, am I missing something? Because they didn't know each other. I get out at Grand Central and there's Santas everywhere. I get in the cab and I look on the street. It's basically where all of a sudden everybody dresses up like Santa Claus and they just start day drinking at 10 a.m. and it is terrifying. So if you've ever been in Manhattan during SantaCon, you know this shit's legit.
All right, guys.
Stabby, shooty.
Question is for you. What did you think about the new trailer for the upcoming Scream? I got to admit, I'm shocked. I really liked it. I'm looking forward to it all of a sudden. How do you guys feel about it? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, we've got one bonus story. This was really an off the top, but it's just too big to make an off the top, and we're going to cover that now. Of course, one of the biggest tragedies in the world of the movie industry in the last couple of years was the accidental shooting that happened on the set of the movie Rust, when Helena Hutchins, I believe she was a cinematographer for the film, was shot when I have still not read any explanation. A live round of ammunition was put into a prop gun, and Alec Baldwin was playing the scene, pulled the trigger, the bullet went off, and she tragically died. And the questions are still swirling, and the tragedy of it is still, the repercussions of which are still being felt. And the questions about how did this even happen are still going on. Well, today, we have found out that Alec Baldwin has been charged, and he's not the only one, has been charged with what's called involuntary manslaughter. Now, we'll get into what that means in just a moment. This comes to us from NPR, wrote the following. Alec Baldwin will face criminal charge of involuntary manslaughter in the shooting death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of the film Rust, prosecutors in Santa Fe, New Mexico said on Thursday. The film's armorer, Hannah Gutierrez Reed, is also facing the same charge. First Judicial District Attorney Mary Carmack Altwies said in a written statement. In addition to those charges, Assistant Director David Halls has signed a plea deal for the charge of negligent use of a deadly weapon, according to the announcement. All right. So we talked about this obviously when it all first happened, and this is one of those situations where there were multiple points of failure, where there were several steps along the way where this should have been caught and prevented from ever happening. Now, listen, because Alec Baldwin is, for various different reasons, not the most liked celebrity in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
Because of that, the internet, I think before putting a lot of thought into it, jumped on him pretty quick. And it's like, burn him, throw him into jail, but like all that kind of stuff. And listen, a young woman died. So of course the temperature is going to be turned up, obviously. Now first, let's talk about involuntary manslaughter. There's two types of manslaughter, all right? There's premeditated murder, which is just murder. Like I sat at home, it's like, I'm going to kill Rob. And then I think about how I'm going to do it. And then I go about it. I get my Ghostface mask and stabby, and I kill Rob. That's murder.
Clearly you want my physical media collection.
Now.
And clearly you've thought about this.
Then there's what's called voluntary manslaughter, which is you never planned on killing that. Like Rob comes home and finds that I've accidentally burned his DVD collection. And in a fit of blinding rage, grabs me by the throat and chokes me to death. He never planned on murdering me. That's what's called voluntary manslaughter. Now, then there's involuntary manslaughter, which was there was never any intent to cause harm, but through an act of negligence, somebody ended up dying. This is often used in the case of drunk driving. Drunk drivers will often be charged with the charge of involuntary manslaughter. It's like you weren't mad at that person. You wish that person no ill will. You never wanted to harm that person. But through an act of negligence, grand or small, that person ended up accidentally dying. And that's what involuntary manslaughter is. And that's what Alec Baldwin is being charged with. Now, we haven't read the details of the charge. I'm assuming, and by the way, don't hold to this because we may find out differently. But the reason the armorer is charged is because it was the armorer's responsibility.
Yeah.
The armorer is supposed to make sure that the gun they have is properly whatever, and then you hand it to the actor. And then there's a responsibility on the actor to kind of make sure the gun is in, working condition as well as it's supposed to be right. Now, when this first happened, and I took a lot of heat from this, but I don't care. I stand by this. Actors are not weapons experts. That's why on the set of movies, you employ weapons experts to be the expert. There is still, that doesn't take away Alec Baldwin's responsibility that he was supposed to double check. But I will tell you this. I've been on the set of a lot of movies. One movie in particular I was on set of, I was there on a day that there was a big multi-gang gunfight that was being shot.
That's cool.
And I will tell you what, and I'm not going to mention the movie because I don't want anybody getting into hot water. Out of the 20, 25 actors, both big and small, that were handed weapons, well, not one of them checked their gun. Like, not one of them did. Because they had people on set who they're the experts on it. They know what they're doing, and they hand it to you, and you are kind of putting your trust in them to give them that. Now, again, you're supposed to, as an actor. I've talked to one or two actors that have said, yeah, man, like this was shortly after the incident happened, said, I mean, it's made me rethink a lot because when I was in such and such show, I was playing a cop and I had to shoot, and I wouldn't even know how to check the gun. So I didn't check the gun. I mean, something happened, whatever. Look, according to the letter of the law, Alec Baldwin was not as negligent as the armorer or the people who were in charge and responsible for making sure safe weapons are on set.
Yeah.
But according to the definition of the rules and procedures that are supposed to be followed, Alec Baldwin was negligent and he's going to have to face charges. How much, how big or small, or whether he'll be found guilty at all, we don't know. But I will say this. I think in the midst of all this, and of course, the most sympathy has to go to the family of Hutchins, who, of course, the husband has now come on. Her surviving husband is now on as a producer of the movie and is working with them to complete the movie.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's where the big thing is. But I can't help but feel a little bit, because I remember, Jonathan, we were talking about this once. If you guys probably saw this on the news, beyond sports, but there was that incident where the baseball player hit a foul ball. It ended up going into the stands and hitting a child. And that child had to be rushed to hospital. And I remember when the camera came back down onto the field, the guy who swung at the guy who was at bat and hit the foul ball, who obviously did not intend at all for anybody to get hurt. That dude almost couldn't breathe. He was collapsed on the ground and teammates were around him like he was just devastated. Imagine you're handed what you believe is it's a movie gun. It's a fake gun. And you pointed that gun, enacting the scene, and pulled the trigger, and there was a real bullet in it, and it shot somebody and they died. This does not.
That was the moment. It was.
Yeah, there it is there. That, and so imagine that times 1,000. And that doesn't take away responsibility. That doesn't take away, the fact that there was negligence at all. I'm just saying, I can't even fathom walking around with that. I just can't. And so we're going to have to see how this plays out. It's going to be interesting to see. Anyway, Rob, it looks like, the charges are now being filed. We're getting closer to the resolution of this thing. What's your perspective on this?
I think you said it beautifully. I mean, here's the thing. When you're on a movie set, actors are concentrating on their job, which is acting. They're concentrating on their lines, their characters, the other actors. I've never been, like, when an actor is given something, especially on a film set, they just assume that it's already ready to go. It's not necessarily an actor's job to open up a gun and look at it from a safety perspective, because actors aren't trained to do that. They can look and see, like, if you were to open a gun and it had a blank in it, you wouldn't necessarily know that unless you actually took the bullet out and looked at the casing. It's hard to say. So I think in Alec Baldwin's case, even though they talk about that it was a low budget movie and it wasn't run very well and all that, it doesn't matter. An actor, when you are handed a firearm, you have a guy or a girl training you, showing you things, is holding the gun out and says to you, take a look at it, hold it. There are checks and balances that happen. This should never have happened. It should never, first of all,
multiple points of failure.
Multiple points of failure. The first being, why was there live ammunition on a set at all? Like, where did it come from? So I understand Alec Baldwin pulled the trigger, and the letter of the law.
He had a responsibility to check. I mean, but again, I know a lot of actors who never have. But
I
there
agree.
is a responsibility.
He did when you're, and you know what? An armorer on a set will tell the actors that they have a responsibility to check, and he will stand there, or she will stand there while the actor checks. They're both looking at it together. It's not, hey man, by the way, just check your gun. No, it doesn't happen that way. And somebody gives it to you, you go through it all. There'll even be a refresher. Okay, do you know how to hold this? Do you know how to put the safety on? Do you know how to do it? This was a failure, like you said, on multiple points, but they have to. Alec Baldwin has to face the music. They have. This was the right decision to make. I hope that he's acquitted. I do.
Well, depending on what information comes out, because let's be honest, we know probably 10% of the information.
Yes.
We may find out more as the
And he was a
goes on that we
producer
go.
on this film.
Well, see, that's the question I wanted to ask both of you. See, this is where it gets interesting to me that there isn't enough information being put out here. I don't know right now if Alec Baldwin is being charged for involuntary manslaughter, which, by the way, is the appropriate charge. As an actor, as the actor who was on set with the gun, or because we've heard stories, again, these are all stories and hearsay and unverified things. We're going to find out more as the court case goes on.
Yeah.
Or is he being charged as a producer because incompetent people were hired as cost-cutting measures? Again, I don't know. I'm not saying that's the case.
That's an interesting take.
I'm saying
though.
I don't know the answer to that. So anyway, Aaron, what do you think about this?
Well, as an actor who I was trying to remember this morning on the way to work how many times I've been on a set, either pointing a gun directly at another human or having another human pointing a gun directly at me. I can't even remember. It's happened so many times. It's part of my job. It's never been, I don't even know. That being said, I grew up around guns. I come from a family of hunters. Guns were always in my house.
Too.
And gun safety was always in my house. In fact, because I have a young child, I made my dad show me and Tom where all of the guns are, where the bullets are, and even my grandfather's gun from way back in the early 1900s that hangs on the wall is not loaded, and I made my dad go through every single gun to show me that, because I very much care about gun safety. So for me, because I respect guns and I understand what they're capable of doing, there has never, ever been a situation where someone has given me a gun that I haven't had the armorer stop. And I don't care how late we're running. I don't care if we're in a rush. That's not my problem. That's your problem. My problem is whether or not the gun that I'm about to be handed is capable of doing any serious damage. So anytime that I've been handed a gun, I always have made the armorer, okay, can you open it for me? Can you show me the chamber? Okay, can you fire off a couple of rounds pointing away towards the ground? Okay, now hand it to me. Now I'm going to fire a couple of rounds. Every single time a gun has ever been handed to me, I have always done that. But that's that's what I do for my work. I also would never go into a fight scene without having rehearsed with the stunt coordinator. I would never go on set with an animal without talking to the animal wrangler. And the thing that I don't understand is why we, in our world of filmmaking, do not treat gun safety with the same level of respect that we treat animal safety. If a lion were to be brought onto the set, a live lion, everyone would stop, because they know that lion is unpredictable and could kill any one of us at any moment. Yet with guns, the fact that there was a cart with guns just laying on it, and for people that are saying, what if it's a prop gun or a real gun? Let me tell you this. There's no such thing as a prop gun that is capable of firing anything. A prop gun is made out of rubber, and that's what we usually use when we're doing rehearsals. Often that's what happens, is they'll give you a rubber gun, and that's for the camera to set everything up. And then right before we're supposed to start filming, that's when the armorer comes in and switches the prop gun out for the real gun. Even when I was doing Nancy Drew, I was playing the chief of police. Nancy Drew has a no gun policy. My character had a taser. Before, every time they handed me that taser, it was in a locked case. The armorer came over to me and I made them show me that it was incapable of even firing tasers. They took the kind of care with a taser that they didn't take with this movie. Also, so even if it's capable of firing a blank, that is still considered a real gun. That's not a prop gun. And even blanks have killed people when fired
Brandon
too
Lee
close.
on the set of The Crow.
And there's been actors who, like, joking around, they know that it's a blank, so they've held the gun to their own temple, fired, and then they've ended up dying or grossly disfiguring themselves. So there were so many things that went wrong here. Number one, the fact that any guns that were capable of firing any bullets at all, blank or not, were available just on a cart where anyone could have walked up and mishandled them or snuck bullets on. The fact that even after this, they found 6 live bullets on the set that were just laying around. There's gross negligence on many layers here. The fact that the first AD walked over, picked up the gun, and handed it to the actor, that is not the first AD's job. The first AD should never have done that, ever. And also the fact that the first AD admits to, they took a plea deal is probably going to factor into this. At the end of the day, this is a tragedy on so many levels. And I know that everybody in our industry shuddered because we thought this could have happened on my set. That couldn't have happened to me because I do check my guns. But like you said, not everybody does. But I was on the set of a certain show that I won't mention, and the actor had a rubber gun for every rehearsal. And then we went to do a take, and the actor pointed the gun directly at my face and fired, and I didn't know it was a blank. And it scared the shit out of me. And I pulled the armorer over, and that person had a very stern lecture from me. But that's the thing. When people say you should never point a gun at someone that you don't intend to shoot. Well, if we can pull up the From Dusk Till Dawn poster, this is the image that they were trying to go for, where it looks almost like you're pointing the gun directly at the camera.
Yeah, standard shot.
And if you are the cinematographer or the camera operator, which, by the way, the only reason the cinematographer was behind the camera that day and not the first AD or the first AC is because the camera operator, because the camera operator had walked off set because a lot of these people had not been paid. This was not the first example on this particular set of negligence, of people not being paid and taken care of. So my point being, it's not uncommon to point a gun at another person. Sometimes that's just what you have to do for the camera. But I just hope that this calls for the entire industry to do a big rethinking of why we even use guns at all that are capable of firing. If we can make Avatar, we can make a gun scene that doesn't require a gun capable of shooting something.
We're already seeing changes happening, right? Because even on the set of a show you were on, The Rookie, the Rookie showrunner decided after Russ was done, that's it. We're not using any real guns. Now they have a certain type of prop that emits smoke and we can put in the sound effects of the bang after. A 15-year-old kid with DaVinci Resolve in their bedroom can easily put in the gun firing sounds and all that kind of stuff.
And the muzzle flash.
And easily, right? So we've already seen shows like that. It has started to change the industry. And again, it's going to be really interesting. Again, one of my first points of interest is going to find out, is he being charged as a producer for negligence, as the actor for negligence? Both. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. And again, multiple points of failure. How the hell were 6 live rounds of ammunition on a set?
That's
how did that happen? Like, how did a live round end up in a gun? I don't know. It's just a big tragedy all the way around. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Listen, there's probably 90% of the actual information that we don't know yet that we'll probably start to find out as the trial proceeds. But what do you think is going to happen here? How are you feeling about the whole thing? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're going to go on now and start taking the questions from our channel members who have been firing in some questions, and we'll get through as many as we can. We don't have a lot of time left, but before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank 2 more of the sponsors of today's show, our friends at Rocket Money and Ryan Reynolds' own Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Rocket Money. Do you know how much your subscriptions cost? Most Americans think they spend around $80 a month on subscriptions, when the actual total is closer to $200. If you don't know exactly how much you're spending every month, you need Rocket Money. When I started using Rocket Money, I couldn't believe how many things I was still paying for. Ann and I haven't lived in Burbank for almost 2 years, and I didn't realize I was still paying for a gym membership in Burbank for 2 years. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills, all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions that they've forgotten about, like that streaming service you bought to watch just one show on, or that free trial that you never even used, or like me, a gym membership in Burbank. Simply find the subscriptions you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. So stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Campea. That's rocketmoney.com/Campea. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. If saving more and spending less is one of your top goals for 2023, why are you still paying insane amounts of money every month for your phone bill? Switching to Mint Mobile is the easiest way to save money this year. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton, with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. Guys, I have told you before that when I was on one of the major phone carriers, I was spending literally 3 times as much every month, and switching to Mint Mobile couldn't have been easier. So for people just looking to save some extra money this year, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily in just minutes with eSIM. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Rocket Money and Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that all down, let's get over to our channel members' questions. Aaron, what do we got in there?
Am I reading top to bottom or bottom to
Top to bottom.
Top to bottom. All right. Thomas BDL. Hi, Thomas. Hi, team. This one's for Jonathan. Oh, what are your thoughts on For All Mankind? Do you also get PTSD whenever you see some duct tape, or is it just me? In any case, welcome to the family.
Meanwhile,
Yeah, in the Hall of Duct Tape. No, I don't get PTSD about the duct tape, but it was painful to just think about what the portrayal of those characters were going through and their skin. I don't want to like spoil anything, but just the pain they must have been through. It was horrible. But I'm loving it. I'm on episode 6 of season 3, so 5 more episodes to go and I'm caught up. I had to get caught up over the break for Robin Ray.
Yes,
or
you did.
they didn't stop badgering me. So, but I'm loving it. I really think it's awesome. It's a great
All
show.
right, what's next?
Next is from Such a Hunk. Oh, hey guys, big fan. I love that name, Such a Hunk. Hey guys, big fan. Your show played a big part in getting me through the many lockdowns we had during the pandemic, and I want to thank you all for that.
I'll tell you what, I mean, Rob and I will often talk about the pandemic days that we were doing the show. Doing the show got us through the pandemic.
yeah.
A lot. I mean, that was a crazy time because we were a movie show in an era when there were no movies being presented, no movies being made, no movie news anywhere. And we were trying to do a daily movie news show. It was rough.
But I think one of the, I came to rely on it to sort of steady my own nerves.
Yeah.
Like it was something that we did every day, and interacting with people at least made me realize like I was stuck at home, that there's a world out there. There's still people that care. And it was nice to have some, while a lot of people were sitting at home twiddling their thumbs, we got to stay working, stay active.
Remember we were trying to do it via Zoom? What a mess that was. I was like, in the
we did do
bathroom.
the show for over a year via Zoom. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how we did it.
And then Chris was like, somebody was like building IKEA cabinetry in the background. We were like, what is happening over there?
I remember that's when like we first when Chris had to leave the show.
Yeah.
Was because like the pandemic happened, so we were no longer doing the show in person, and we tried to get Chris set up being able to do it, but I mean her stream wasn't working properly. The noise in there was terrible. The dogs were barking. The cameras looked terrible. And we just, that's why Chris wasn't on the show for like a year and a half or 2 years.
I remember just like you told us about your friend, the Broadway actor.
Yeah,
and
Nick Cordero.
That was
from my hometown of Hamilton, Ontario.
Yeah, that was the first time I'd seen anybody in weeks. We had that lunch at BJ's.
Yeah.
And you were talking about that. That was the last time I went out. That was the last time I went down the hill by your house for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
It was insane.
All right. What's next?
Next comes to us from Jason Love. Can I just send some love to Rob and Chris for Weekly Hero? It is fast becoming one of my favorite shows on YouTube. Yesterday's episode was particularly phenomenal and funny.
Yeah. How
Really?
are you guys finding doing Weekly Hero?
I love it. And no, it's a lot of fun. It's you know what's funny? I kind of throw things to her. She's so funny. Chris Carr is so funny.
Yeah.
And what's amazing is how witty she is on the fly, off the cuff. and it's just a lot of fun to do the show with her. I adore her anyway, but she's just so funny, and the stuff she says, she's a constant crack up to me.
She literally, it's crazy to me how someone will say something and then she comes up with these like witty little things like soup goop. I mean, just the things that stick in your head that she comes up with off the top, and you just go, how did you not plan that for weeks?
I don't think that this crew gets enough credit for the comedians that you all are. Ray Orr says some of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. Don't know where they come from. And Jonathan cracks me up.
I mean, Jonathan is so good. When I was like, does anybody want to talk about? And he's like, no.
When you cut to Brie
timing.
Larson as Captain Marvel. By the way, you picked up a Pedro Pascal image yesterday that was the Last of Us equivalent of Brie Larson looking sideways. I don't know if it was during this show yesterday or if it's during the weekly. No, I think it was during the show. It was hilarious, and I thought, is that your new Pedro Pascal looking like? It was good.
Yeah.
Let's face it, we're all pretty awesome. We are just
Funny
really
bunch of
awesome.
dudes, and
We're great.
John's put
We are
together
best.
the
Matter of
wacky
fact,
fun
there's
bunch.
going to be a whole show dedicated to how awesome we are.
The Campea family.
All right, what's next?
Zach Marcello says, you have mentioned it before that Heroes had the best opening episode ever. I loved that show when it came out, but what a terrible way for it to end. Even though it's old, I was wondering if you could give your brief thoughts on how awesome it was and its ultimate demise.
Well, the show. Look, I still remember. I was late to it, so I didn't watch it. It was about 8 episodes in when my buddy Rodney, who some of you, if you guys follow me all the way back in the movie blog days, you might remember Rodney. Rodney brought over a couple of burned CDs because this is before Peacock, ladies and gentlemen, to watch. So you got to watch these episodes of Heroes. I'm like, all right. Now I had a date. I had a online date. Like what was it called? It was the dating site was called Lava Life or something. I had an on date later on that evening, right? So it was like the afternoon. I had plenty of time. So I watched one episode of Heroes. Could not believe how good it was. It had me hooked. This bullshit about you got to get 5 or 6 episodes in before. Heroes, no way. Hooked right from the beginning. So I watched the next episode and the next episode, and it's like, damn, I got this girl coming over in a bit. Got time for one more, and I'm like. Call her. Hey, I'm just running some. Can you come like an hour later? Sure. Next episode, like, I'm not stopping watching this show, and I canceled the date.
You know that
Anne
whole
is very patient.
Well, this is when I was still in Canada.
I'm kidding.
This
I'm
is
kidding.
when I
I'm
was still in
kidding.
Canada.
that whole first season is one of the great first seasons of a
I
fantasy
think
show.
I think it is the best first season of a television show ever.
It was so good, and I was so crushed because the following seasons didn't come anywhere near. It just spiraled out of control, and I was really that. I don't think a TV show's crushed me that much in terms of its drop in quality.
Can I also
Yeah,
point
it went
out
to hell after that.
the actor James Kyson Lee, who plays the best friend to Hero, the Hero character?
Right.
Do you know who I'm talking
Yep.
about? The actor who played Hero is actually Japanese and speaks Japanese.
And his real name is Hero, by the way.
Oh, how funny.
Right.
Yep.
James Kyson Lee, who's a friend and a wonderful person, he's actually Korean and speaks Korean, but did not speak Japanese. So he had to learn all of his dialogue in Japanese and speak fluently enough with a native Japanese speaker on the show. And so I just want to give a little shout out to James Kyson Lee for, playing a character of a completely different nationality not nationality, but a completely different background and language of his own.
And that's
Actually,
what,
can you bring up my NDI for a second here?
Let me just.
So that's me with the guys,
Oh,
you go.
including Hero, sitting at the end. This
look
was
at little Milo Ventimiglia. He looks like a baby.
I know. Of course, I had met. Well, Milo is the guy responsible for me
Milo?
meeting Anne. He brought Anne to the party of the night. But look, he invited a bunch of his online fans that lived in LA, like 6 or 7 of them, that belonged to a thing that he started called the Divide Social Club. And I was throwing this rap party for a movie he did called Pathology. And he invited these 6 or 7 people, and Anne was one of them. She came to the party. That's the first night I met Anne, was because of Milo. And this was the day, by the way, this was at the annual party I would throw at Comic-Con. And that is the day. What's the name of the actor again who plays Spock, Siler there?
Zachary
Zachary.
Quinto.
Zachary Quinto.
Zachary.
Oh,
So,
he's so
this
good.
was the day. This is 3 hours after they publicly announced that he was going to be the new Spock.
wow.
So that
In the
was
greatest Star Trek franchise.
the greatest iteration of Star Trek of all
He
time.
was so good as Sylar.
Oh, he was like, especially that one of the
Nice save,
best
Rob.
television villains ever. One of the best television villains ever, at least in the first season.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, what's next?
From Sin Vendetta, with disaster movies being my favorite movie genre, how in the world did I leave Chernobyl in my backlog for over 3 years? I don't know. Chernobyl is fantastic, and it makes me so much more excited to watch the Last of Us series.
Oh,
Yeah, but it was real. Like, that's the most horrifying thing about
Yeah.
Chernobyl. You're watching this, and like, we're seeing these people go, I'll go down and check. Like, oh, that guy died.
Yeah.
That guy's dead. And you really, like, there's this one scene in Chernobyl, and they were like, they get all these guys, these construction guys, so they need people to go down the tunnels.
Miners.
All these miners go down. And then, so finally Scarlett said, you'll do it because it needs to be done. And I'm like, wow. And these guys are like, yep, we'll do it.
And even the scenes of them sitting around the table, all of the people who, they're making decisions that will affect lives not their own, and that stuff actually happened. It's just
Well,
it's kinda
and
sickening.
happening because
yeah,
even
still yeah.
in this current war in Ukraine, last year there were Russian soldiers that had dug trenches around Chernobyl, and then they had to be sent off the lines from radiation poisoning.
All right, what's next?
From CJ Rebirth, we watched Raya and the Last Dragon. Still holds up, and I still love it. It's the Last Airbender mixed with How to Train Your Dragon.
I really liked Ryan the Last Dragon, but it carried a sour note to it with me because I was at D23 when they first talked about Ryan the Last Dragon, and they brought out, at the time, the director who showed pictures of herself when she was a little girl dressed as Disney princesses and with her grandma. And I wish my grandma was here today. I could show her, I'm directing a Disney movie. And they had a different voice cast. And then they scrapped a bunch of it, decided to remake some of it. They kicked out the director. They recast the lead voice actors, except for Awkwafina. They kept her in. And brought in a new director. And listen, the movie is good. It's good. I enjoyed it. But it always felt a little sour to me just because I was there at D23, seeing the excitement of this woman who was directing it before. All right, what's next?
From Stubble McShave, I rewatched Apt Pupil. Great
Ian
movie.
McKellen.
Ian McKellen and Brad Renfro are great, and it's so sad that Brad died by suicide. I would have loved to see what he could have brought to the movies today.
yeah.
I mean, that movie is... Whew,
It's one of the best Stephen King adaptations, and people always forget it's based on a Stephen King story from different seasons.
all right, what's next?
From Wyatt Bender. Hey, John and crew. Love y'all. Love y'all. I don't know if you guys covered this news last year about the 20th Century Studios developing a live-action Max Payne remake of the film based on the video game franchise. I am a big fan of this franchise, and they botched it with that god-awful Mark Wahlberg and Mila Kunis film back in 2008. This video game franchise has the potential to be a great film or television series because of its storytelling with amazing characters, including the title. Including the title character. Yeah. I just want to see the story of Max Payne done right with an actor who sounds like James McCaffrey.
Here's the thing. It does not have to sound like anything. Bring the movie adaptation and make it what it is. Look, again, I don't think Max Payne has any more potential to be a good movie than anything else. Look, you can make a good movie out of a story that you create about plastic square building blocks. I mean, anything has the potential to be a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some have more potential than others. With Max Payne, though, I mean, I remember I don't think I've heard any movement. I could be. Maybe I just didn't hear, but I haven't heard of any movement on this. The thing is, Max Payne. I don't hear anybody talk about the Max Payne games anymore.
No.
You hear people talk about Halo. You hear people talk about all the. I don't hear people talk. I don't know if doing a Max Payne movie at this point is a good investment.
Although I remember loving that video game.
I brought this up to Ray. No, not to Ray. To Taylor and Chris a couple days ago, and they're like, "What's that? What movie is that? And what game is that?"
Yeah, but it was a terrible movie. Oh my God, it was bad. Yeah. All right, what's next?
Edward says, from the analytics I can see, the Book of Boba Fett finale had 36% more viewers in its first 5 days than the Mandalorian season 2 finale did, and we know for a fact that it was one of the most viewed TV shows of last year on Disney+.
Well, yeah, of course, because it was building off the success.
Mm-hmm.
They had Boba Fett in Mandalorian season 2
Yeah.
to hype up and build up the show. That made sense. The problem was the show stunk. Had its moments.
But inexplicably, what was the worst thing about that show was what they did to the character of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Running around a kitchen after a droid. When he finally gets the droid, I am Boba
I am
Fett.
Boba Fett. It's like, what? I know. See, I remember sitting, Ray, I think you might have been there. I'm sitting in my living room. I'm like, they did not just fucking do that. Come on. I am Boba. To a little droid that is running around. Like, what is this? Mouse Kitchen? Or what was the name of that movie where...
Ratatouille.
No, but like a mouse in New York, and I can't remember the name of it. It's an obscure movie.
An
Whatever.
American Tale or something?
Yes.
Bible Goes West.
Yes.
That wasn't what I was thinking, but that probably works.
like
too.
I mean,
Yeah.
but it was, how do they do that? How do you, the thing about, here's what I don't understand, John. Boba Fett since 1980,
Mousetrap. Thank you.
there you go.
Thank
There
you,
you
Tim
go.
Platt in the live chat.
That was also a
Mousetrap.
board game.
or even go back to the animated series, the animated holiday special. Boba Fett was always one of the coolest guys. Everybody understood how cool he was. How do you make him uncool?
Well, and how do you make him uncool so quick? Because the Boba Fett we saw in Mandalorian
Was badass.
it was the John Wick of the Star Wars universe. It was the ultimate form of Boba Fett.
That
One
was
and
Cocaine Bear Boba Fett.
That was the cocaine bear of Boba Fett.
Cocaine Fish.
How they ruined him so
Cocaine
quickly.
Fett.
Even Tamora Morrison did an interview recently say, well, if we do Boba Fett again, we got to make him badass again, because he was not badass in the show.
No.
Like at all.
And did lots of dumb things.
Yes, very dumb things. It's like, I need to go into the mouth of the Sarlacc to find my armor. You do remember you crawled out of the Sarlacc with your armor, right? Or I'm going to hover my ship right. Like, I know, hey, I got caught with one of the tentacles of the thing before, but I seem to have forgotten about it. I'm going to hover my ship right over its open mouth. Nothing can go wrong. I mean, he was a moron. They made him a moron. Anyway. All right, what's next?
From Devin Pangracker says, some say the trailer is missing distinct Scream qualities like all the movie talk, but so did the trailer for the last film. And that was the screamiest Scream yet. Can't wait for March 10th. In radio silence, I trust.
Yeah, but the last movie did have a lot of movie talk. I'll go out, like, again, I know I'm not the Scream core demographic. Move on from the fucking movie talk. You've said there's nothing you can say today that you haven't retread 55 times before.
Yeah.
I mean, drop some references to it, stay true, and they did in the last film. But yeah, move on from
This movie looks to redeem the disappointment that was Jason Takes Manhattan. I mean, who didn't want to see Jason go to Manhattan? And that movie just
Not as much as I want to see him go to space.
But that was good.
Yes, it was.
That was satisfying.
All right, what's next?
Jen the Jedi says, seems like Blade is back on track and hopefully the rewrites helped. It's now being reported that the movie starts shooting May 30th.
Yes.
Well, that's a quick turnaround.
Okay, here's what I don't get. They shot a wait, you're talking about Blade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mahershala Ali Blade.
yes, so there's also
Not the Sticky Fingers Blade? Oh, I thought they were bringing back Sticky Fingers. Okay, please
I
continue.
want to know, I mean, are we getting an Eternals 2? Because you first hear his voice at the end of Eternals
Yes.
1. So they're talking about Eternals 2. I just want to know, I have to know, are there vampires in the Marvel Universe and how long have they been here? Where's the supernatural? They have so many questions I need to know because
They're inside the head of that celestial.
Tiamat.
I guess so. Because
Everything's in
here
Tiamat.
they set up Dane, they set up the cursed Blade, and Blade himself is in this scene. And then they delay the Blade movie. I just want to know, man. I want to know, please.
Answers are coming. Answers are coming. All right.
Oh,
Quiet.
that wasn't the picture I
No,
was
I know.
thinking of.
All right. Last question of the day. What's next?
Oh, you
Joey
love this.
Babooey.
Oh no, here we go.
Joey Babooey says, Puss in 4K Watch officially begins February 23rd. I know that Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett be looking to add this to his physical media stash with Harry and Meghan, unrated, and Olga. What is Olga?
That's it.
What's
Okay.
the private? What's the?
Yeah, I was talking about Olga Kurylenko being Taskmaster yesterday when the stream skipped and it cut off. I said, Olga, and that was the last thing anybody heard.
and Olga.
I can do it. That's funny.
Who,
I
by the way, was one of the finalists to play Wonder Woman.
love her. Love her. Look, I will not be buying Puss in Boots.
What?
On,
What?
Why would you buy half the shit that you buy, but you won't buy Puss
Half
in
the
Boots?
shit he buys
which
on
is a really good
Laserdisc,
movie.
Blu-ray, and DVD. I don't even know the difference between any of those.
Well,
For battle.
okay, you know what? I'll do it for Taylor.
I was gonna say
I'll do it for
you
Taylor.
probably own the Kenny Rogers movie Six Pack. Would it
I
surprise
do
you
not.
to know that I own the Steelbook, but you won't
I
buy
do-
Puss in Boots?
I don't own Six Pack, nor do I
Okay.
own Stroker Ace, the Burt Reynolds
Stroker,
racing
I hardly
movie.
know her. Sorry.
All right, guys, and that'll do it. That's all the time we have today for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big thank you to those of you guys, our channel members, number one, for being channel members and supporting our channel the way you do. We love you guys. And for those of you who sent in those questions, giving us great fun things to talk about, we appreciate it. Again, don't forget, a little bit later today at 3 p.m. Los Angeles time, that's 6 p.m. New York time, come on back for open mic. If you guys got thoughts, theories, and questions you wanted to talk about, come on back, and that's what we do on open mic, and we hope to see you there. I want to thank everybody in the room. Sitting over here, Robert Meyer Burnett. Back there, of course, is Ray Ora. Right beside him, of course, is Taylor Gonzalez and Jonathan Boyko. And, of course, joining us today is Aaron and Joey Bishop. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. Big special thank you to you guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.